Hello and welcome to the 55th, oh boy, episode of Rambling Weekly. And yeah, I don't know how, I'm going to try this again, because I tried it a couple episodes ago and sort of botched it, and so I shifted gears, went to something else. I'm going to try this topic again. I have some new ideas. So, and it's kind of how we perceive ourselves through the lens of others, and all sorts of things like that. So, let's get into it. Welcome back. That there is Mysterious Moment from the, what is that? The Music from Ys CD there. I don't know, I've been in an Ys music vibe lately, and it works for me. So it's also really nice, the music for this one. It actually, I don't know why I'm whispering this, but it actually fades out on its own. So I can be super lazy and just kind of plop the song in there. That wasn't the intentions, but... it kind of works out. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. I've been really busy, in a good way. What chapter am I on? I'm on chapter 7 of editing, and it's about 40 pages into it. I've edited, but I still need to go through and actually parse out some of the things or add in sentences and stuff. I know at a certain point I have a 2-paragraph section that's actually going to be turned into a whole different chapter, because I was kind of lazy and I was like, we'll just write this out. We'll just go with that. But yeah, that yeah, so that's coming along. I took a break from it for a week, and I think because I'm going this route, it's kind of nice because I can zip through, and if there's something, there was, even though they were only a couple paragraphs apart, but there was something mentioned 2 chapters previously, on chapter 6, or something mentioned in chapter 4, I was like, I'm going to make a note. It's kind of nice to be able to do that without having to go, oh, well, shoot, I completely missed this. So, yeah, that... finally finished Unmetal. I've got to make the video and stuff for it. I'll probably be doing that sometime Friday, Saturday, something like that. One of the somewhere around there. So woohoo! I actually really enjoyed the game. Spoiler alert! But the ending, I really liked the ending. It was good. It was a little bit of a okay, it was a misdirection that worked really well for it. I appreciated it, and it's stupid. It's stupid. It's funny, but it's just kind of okay, all right. I can work with this. What else? Got that. I've been streaming, so probably do Friday night, maybe, fingers crossed. Yeah, I might do that. I'm actually wrong with my eyeballs. Why do my eyeballs look weird to me? I don't know. Shows how often I look in a mirror. But I might stream tomorrow night, or I guess, tonight, since this will come out. I'm recording this Thursday night, surprise. But I may stream and finally finish up Resident Evil. I've been playing through the HD remaster, and I have never beaten the game, so it's kind of nice to actually be like, yes, get to the end of this. Please, be done. Not that I dislike it, but it's just like, hey, finally get this one off the list and then go to something else. That. Got my taxes done. Woo, exciting. That's kind of nice. So I'm just waiting to get the, like, they've been accepted, so I'm just waiting for them to, I think it's on average, what is it, about 3 weeks, so only partial way through there, so just kind of sit and wait. I mean, they're fairly straightforward. It's not like I've got a bunch of different stuff, so it's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, I've just been kind of swamped with that, and then just, you know, doing typical living stuff, so as you do. I guess something to add in there is that I've kind of been a bit of a maniac lately. Like, I've been getting up today. I woke up later than I normally do. I got up at 5:30. I've been getting up at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning to go out and jump rope, and then get in workout in and some exercising and stuff. So yeah, that's been something. It's been pretty nice. Like, I've noticed a little tick down on some of the weight. I've just noticed, like, in the mirror and stuff, looking a little bit better and stuff. I'm like, hey, keep it up, do your thing. So yeah, that's about it, I think. It's like I said, it's been it's been busy, but a lot of it's also been editing, but also, like, getting through Unmetal took up a big chunk, because it certainly dragged a bit, not in the sense of the game was bad and it was dragging. It was just kind of, oh, this is taking me a while. This is a little bit more of a longer game than I was expecting. Actually, I'm kind of curious, how long did it take me to beat this game? Let's see. Well, no, I had the game running a couple times, and I forgot to, like, kind of shut things down. So it says playtime 20 hours. It was probably more to, like, somewhere in between 10 to 15. That's what I'm going to go with, about 10 to 15. So yeah, which isn't bad, like, really, for what it was and everything. It was good. It was enjoyable. What, anything else that I've been, Resident Evil, going through that? Not necessarily. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that came out with the Nintendo Direct and everything that people have been going gaga for. Like Ghost Trick, new Professor Layton game. There's I still haven't downloaded it yet, but there's the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulators on the Switch, so that'd be nice to dive into. Oh dear gracious. Time out. Time in. Woohoo. Yeah, so Nintendo Direct, all that fun jazz, whoop-de-da. Yeah, like I said, I haven't downloaded it yet, so I can't see that's all that's on there, but it's neat that, not that I think I vaguely remember something about them saying there was going to be a thing sooner or later, so it's neat that it's finally come to. Kind of similar with GoldenEye. I like how there was, you know, that the time of the Millennial Menace in gamingdom really doesn't matter so much, because they like, that game came out and then it was like, okay, it's out. But that's kind of how, not kind of, that's really how a lot of that stuff is nowadays, right? It's like, oh, super excitement for about 30 seconds, and then it releases. It's like the worst, not to not to make it like too inappropriate, but it's like, yeah. There's all that sexual tension, and then it's pop, and then it's just like, oh, that's how people act. It's really weird. It's really weird to see that. Maybe there's some odd theories and stuff you can connect with how just hypersexualized everybody seems to be. It does sort of tie in with like hype, and then that just there's a refraction period of just it is a strange thing, and I'm definitely not too keen on it. Where it's just and then there's ever so often the tantric of, oh, this game is this is pretty good. We're gonna keep going. It is weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird one because I'm so syncopated in that sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for that. But yeah, hope your week's been going well. So we're gonna get into the topic, but first, a break. So stick around. Welcome back. That song there is Overdrive. Very tense, action-y song. Really enjoy it. I will say this, the one thing that's kind of bad about the album, CD, what have you, is that the songs are kind of short. It reminds me of a long time ago I had I don't remember what it was called, but it was the music for Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and it was the original music. I got it off of some random site that was based down in Florida that had all a bunch of, like, as I got like a couple Cowboy Bebop CDs and stuff that have long since been lost. I had Vitaminless, and then I don't think I had all three. I think I had the first and the third soundtracks, but that was another one that was on there. I wish I could remember what that was called. Ages ago, but it had the music from Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 2, like the original one, not Final Fantasy 4 from the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy 2 in the States. But yeah, they're like really short, and it's like, I wish you would loop a little bit longer. Could be just that's something that I it's a bit of an art in itself. Not to say that I'm like fantastic with the bleeps and the bloops, but to make a loopable song it's a very different beast, especially if it's like really short. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of plagiarism as well, but there's a lot of creativity to be like, okay, I've got 30 seconds. What am I saying here? And you're going to be hearing it for hours. How is this going to work? So, yeah, it's pretty cool, that whole bleeping blooping thing. So, anyways, the topic for today, reflective surfaces. Ooh. So this is not just in the sense of a mirror, but it does help to visualize one. It does help to think of that. I always think of the meme of the little stick figures, and there's the one that's acting like an idiot, and the other two are talking, and it keeps on acting like an idiot, and the other two are like, bugger off. And then the in the third frame, the one's like, "Ha! They didn't know I was only pretending to be an idiot." Um, Stemming from that is the reflective surface of that is that, like, we know our intentions, but and if we're good friends with people, they will know our intentions on how we are, like what we say when we say something. There's certain things that you can like say to a friend that they'll totally get where you're going and where you're coming from on that. But if you try to say it to somebody else, they're kind of like, what the but it's because they have that understanding, that inner understanding. And if they don't have that, they're only going to get the surface level. And because they're only going to get the surface level of something, they're just not going to get it. I think of just far too often people want to try to be outside their own head or outside of their own perception of things. And it's not even to understand other things generally. It's much less that and more of reflection back, like, of, oh man, I'm going to get outside of my head, and then people will, like, how will people perceive me? It's a very egotistical sense of, like, what's the word I want to, like, trying to understand self-worth or something. You see this a lot with people will say something like, I hate this phrase. I hate this phrase with such a burning passion. It's like something being along the lines of being on the right side of history. And maybe it's because of looking at history and stuff. I don't know. I mean, but it is not a progress upward and onward. It is a very, very rocky road we roll down. And more importantly, I just find it very odd and self-centered and narcissistic to be like, I do this because it's the right side of history. Not because I find it right, but because in the grand scheme, people in the future will look back and say, oh, this was the right thing. This was the good choice. And somehow that will shine some sort of random light on random person 200 years in the future will be like, man, that Taylor guy, he had it right. It's like, no. It's like, not only that, spoiler, the bad guys could easily win, and then you're suffering for a long time. I'm very much in line of the truth will eventually win out in the long term. So as long as you're being truthful on stuff, and I mean like truthful, not just like, oh, this is like how you feel about something. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's like a truthful thing, because you could be lying to yourself for all you know, right? There's so many different layers. Peeling the onion sort of thing. 7-layer burrito. I don't know. Like, so but to me that pinpoints this thing that I've gotten really, really annoyed with, of just this narcissism. They always want to talk about like the NPC thing. Well, they don't really think about it. I think it's the dark reflection of that is that everybody thinks that they're a hero. And you see this gets cliched and thrown about all the time. Well, that's what makes a good villain in a story, is that if they think that they're the hero. It's not necessarily that they think that they're a hero, because that's that's not the step isn't to be like, oh, I'm the hero. Like this is where like the sort of reflection of the people are paying too much attention to the reflection of themselves instead of actually themselves. So whatever it's like, oh, well, I'm the hero. I'm doing the good, and that's not that's not a healthy way to go. Like that's a horrible way to kind of think about it. Yeah, like I just it's because like more than anything, it's I think it's a simplistic way of trying to establish what a good villain could be, but that's also not. There are many types of villains, like because boil it down. There's like three stories. It's the man versus man, man versus nature, man versus society. Those are the conflicts. I guess there's you can put another one in there, man against him or herself. Like it's those are the general like ideas of the conflict, and it's less about the hero and more about, are they able to justify themselves? like you can justify a lot of stuff. People have done it. You could look through that wonderful thing, a history book, and be like, oh boy, wow, you really justified that. This is why for a very long time I was very interested in conspiracy theories, because people would find a way to justify a lot of silly stuff. Like, oh, okay. Like, I'm curious to see how you got here. Please let me park my butt right in this chair and see where you take me. And then about 3 to 4 hours later, I'm kind of like, I need to leave. My butt has been firmly planted for far too long. This is okay. And I think that's part of the problem, is that things like social media, where it's like, we get the whole, oh, well, there's people who are only putting up the perfect stuff that so other people can see it. And that's certainly an issue. It's an issue in the sense of people being jealous of other people's lives. So they're either trying to compare themselves to these people or trying to vicariously live through them instead of living their own lives. That's a problem. The other problem is that it seems to cause this separation of self. Like, I'm very much a strong proponent, not a component, but a strong proponent of the idea that, like, there's only so much clay you can work with for yourself. Or, take something like D&D. There's, you only have so many points to put in your stat sheet. And certainly you can level up and add some here, maybe kind of shift and put some elsewhere, sort of thing. But you get to a point where certain talents only they'll hit a ceiling. Like, there's just, you'll just get to a point and it's just boom. However, I think when you have this sort of separation, instead of kind of going through oneself, there's this separation, this breakdown of the self, of being like, oh, how do I look to others? How am I being perceived? How is this coming off to others? And that's a trade-off of living in some sort of community, in some sort of city, just in a society kind of thing. But there are those trade-offs of the hyper individualistic attitude versus that, and it's the concessions you make with that. Do you, like, for myself, I've got a really bad hard line of, I don't generally make concessions to be around people who, for lack of a better word to put it, like, are, I don't know how to, other than just saying ordinary. I always like, I know I mentioned it before about, or in like the last episode of kind of gravitating towards people who I can like feel like can help me in some sort of way, but also that inspire me to just be a better person like them, kind of thing. There's this je ne sais quoi, this spark that I gravitate towards a lot of times with people. Sometimes that it's a false light, or maybe not that it's necessarily a false light, but it's like seeing a potential versus how the reality sort of dims that, or just kind of turns it on its head to what I'm thinking. But where was I going with that? My brain doesn't work half the time. That friend thing. I don't remember. They're right there. The thoughts that just sort of leak out of my head. Oh, that spark. Where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, no, the individual and stuff like that. So, but you have to make those concessions, right? Like, I know I can be really, really, like, cut to the point sort of thing. Unfortunately, I'm just not, it's just not in me to make too many concessions with that sort of thing. Like, I don't have an interest in trying to, like, I have a hard time, and I think I might have mentioned it, maybe even mentioned in the previous episode. I'm not one of those that can like console people, but also it doesn't work on me. Like, it just doesn't, like, somebody console, oh, it'll be okay. That doesn't do anything for me. Like, I don't, so yeah, I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, but if you make the concessions on stuff, you try to like console people, or you do have the, I don't want to do this, but you make these. It's a balancing act, right? You can't just, except for when it gets into a group of people, it becomes a very tight rope to balance, right? And it's like, do you have somebody who tries to lead the group the whole time and follow the whims of that person? Is it more of a, I find if it doesn't go that route, things can kind of just sort of be a little harder. And it's not necessarily that people are flaky, but I want to say that they're flaky. You know what I mean? It's just like, but I don't know why I went that route. Can't remember. Sorry. Oh boy. Yeah, but I guess kind of stepping back into just this perception of things through like the phones and like the reaction things in videos and stuff still floor me, because they're just a really odd thing to watch. I don't, like, I still can't wrap my head around that. And maybe it's because I'm partially concerned it's more of a performative sort of thing, especially when it's put onto things like YouTube or TikTok. You see a lot of this performative sort of reactionary sort of thing, and it just it comes off as very, when you're trying to capture the moment and you see it. Look at the thing where LeBron James just passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the all-time scorer thing in the NBA. Like, if you look at one of those photos where he's kind of taking a little fade back to shoot to surpass Abdul's record, like, almost everybody has a phone out and they're trying to take a picture of it and stuff. And you have like one dude who's right there at the court in the court seats and stuff, who's just kind of standing and watching, but everybody else has their phone out, which is just like this looking glass sort of thing, and it is causing this separation. And like I said, there's only so much of yourself that you have, and I feel like it's causing this sort of separation to be like, oh, I'm here, but I'm also taking the picture so that other people will know, instead of just living the moment. And then like I just it's like same with the reaction thing. I don't it's I know some people, it's kind of, they're like, oh, that's kind of neat or something. Or if they're playing it's streaming, it sort of balances itself out because there's interaction happening at the same time. So even though like you can't be in the same room, or playing like a multiplayer game together or something, at least it's kind of like it's at least a little bit different, especially when it's a little bit more intimate and there's just a handful of people commenting and stuff, as opposed to like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. That, and also, some people are just like, I don't like this game, but it'd be kind of neat to see how somebody gets through it. It's just, yeah, like it's just a very weird thing that there's, and I honestly think that's where more and more of problems in kind of oneself have started to exacerbate. I think there's a habit of going, well, look at all these problems. They were totally there beforehand, but now we just know better. I don't think that's quite the case. I think there's really something going on where it's just not this proper. Hello. I'm kind of looking at the thing. I'm like, can I talk louder? Can I say something? Does it? Hello, hello, hello. I don't know. But like there's just this, like I said, the separation. So there's this kind of pulling apart of oneself to try to, like, I get it in the sense of, so until somebody, I don't remember where I read it, I just remember reading it, and somebody had a point that I sort of like, and I feel like, yeah, that makes some sense, is that until somebody has a near-death experience, all they really care about is either fun or building of money and that sort of thing. And it isn't until they have that near-death experience, and it doesn't even have to be like on the hospital bed, floating to the sky sort of thing, just in the sense of brush with death kind of thing. And it isn't until that moment happens that it sort of creates this new perception, I guess, or at least it adds in, it sprinkles in a new flavor and new seasoning to salt the wounds, and it's, people become more concerned with legacy. And it's, I think, something that, like, when you get older, you start to do more and more of. Not necessarily, like, what's that quote? I think it's a Lacedaemonian Spartan quote about, may not be them, at least Greek, about a healthy society is one where old men plant trees that they'll never know the shade of, kind of thing. Now, legacy can also be in different ways. Like, so with Sudraba and some of these other stories, my thing is like, I hope somebody, if they ever read it or read these things, that they have a similar reaction. Like, just anybody has a similar reaction that I did when I read things like Redwall when I was a kid, or just in general, just sort of some sort of visceral reaction that either makes me want, makes them want to write, or it inspires them on something. When it comes to writing, that's what it's kind of turned into. And for a while, like, and this is just I guess just sort of looking at myself, trying to figure out my own reflections and being introspective. for a very long time, writing used to be this thing that I did as a catharsis. It was it's a very, very, very cheap hobby to get into. So if you're feeling the pinch of $8 a dozen eggs, write in a journal. Do some writing. Start working those creative juices when it comes to writing. A, it takes a long time, and B, it's pretty cheap. So it's I highly recommend it. Not even if you don't want to do it, like, it's just I don't know, but here's the thing, like, it was a form of catharsis for a very long time for me. However, as I've here sitting right now, that doesn't do that anymore for me, and it's a very weird thing to say that. It's kind of similar to, like, I have all these wonderful little cute Kirby plushies or slime things and whatnot, and for a very long time, part of the thing was that it softened my heart, like, because I could be, like I said, I can just be super stern on myself, but when I see little smiling Kirby, or little sleeping Kirby, it would just kind of like, oh, isn't that adorable? Like, it's like, I'm up here, now it's down here a little bit. But then, the same hand, it's a similar thing to, like, having drive and motivation. Like, motivation is sort of that catalyst that can get you going, but more and more you have to add in more to hit the same effects as you were for the first time thing. That's where I think you get a lot of people who get into collecting a lot of times, kind of pushes into that vein. There's just a catharsis to it. There's some sort of relief, just sort of a simple joy to it. And that's not to say simple's bad. It's just like but more and more you have to kind of push to get these things. And instead of trying to figure that out, it just kind of spirals to the point that it just becomes this burgeoning, heaping mound of stuff. And that was, I guess, a precipice I was sort of pushing towards, but I had this bizarre epiphany on it that it's like I don't even look at the Kirby's to need that sort of softening anymore. Like, it is this weird bit where the same thing with writing, or it's just like it doesn't have that catharsis. It's not to say that it's not there, but more that I'm just that much more comfortable in understanding who I am. And I don't know if that's really possible when you have this separation of the self. I don't know. I find it really hard to do that. Or at least to conceptualize it in my head. Maybe there are people who are able to do that. But that's, I think, part of the problem as well, is that you may be in your own head and you may understand yourself, but you can also be lying to yourself, or you're just unaware of stuff. Like you can know the world that you're rolling in, but that sandbox only goes so far. And that's why you ping off of other people to get a better understanding of the world around you, right? But in a similar vein, much like those other people, the 1 million+ followers that they have on Instagram, or those are doing super duper well on the YouTubes or on Twitch or on any sort of social media, is that we only have what's presented to us. And when you bifurcate yourself into trying to grasp hold of the attention of seeing yourself, I feel like you're not giving yourself the full understanding or the full brain power to know yourself, and it's being diverted into just trying to see the reflection in the mirror. or reflection in a very still pond, or very polished brass, if you will. It's so. I guess that's what I mean by that, is that there's just this. It is not nearly as introspective as one might be led to believe. Could I be wrong? Of course. Always be wrong. It's life. Life has so many different, wonderful, wacky, annoying, but also weird ways of going about it. And that's the infuriating fun of it in that degree. No, but it is a concern because you see, or at least I see how fixated it's more and more people tend to be on doing the shorts and stuff. And you could be like, well, Taylor, what's this about? You do the video thing here. Yeah, I think part of it's also because definitely part of it was that I was looking pretty haggard for a while. I was not looking my wonderful, wonderful, sexy self. But another part of it was that I just didn't really have it in me to be like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Part of it also, I think it works better for people because it's actually like I'm talking. But here's the thing: I don't know if anybody even like watches the video. They may just put it on the background and whatnot. Like I could be doing all sorts of goofy things, but I don't know. It's not like I have some sort of statistical data saying one thing or the other. I just know people listen to it. Like I know one, David listens to it while he's driving. Hi, David. Be careful. Stay safe on the roads. But that's I guess my thing is that it's there's the concern of always looking at all the other more successful, but it's like success is not anybody else's to determine what your success is, right? Like your success is what this is. Now, sure, there are downfalls to that because you have people who have very low standards of themselves, and not only low standards, but they have like low hurdles to clear. And if you get comfortable with that, if you get comfortably numb doing that, you're going to end up miserable because you're not being challenged. Like, what's the point of, not in a game sense, but like, because a game is supposed to be fun, but I guess fun means different things to different people. But what's the, for myself, like it's not fun if there isn't at least some infuriating challenge with it. It doesn't have to be the whole time. I don't need freaking Wizardry 8 or anything of the sort. But it just, yeah, I just, if you have those low standards for yourself and whatnot, and you're able to get, like, it works in like helping build confidence, right? You kind of put one you start stacking these little victories for yourself. The problem ends up being, though, is if you stack these things and then one thing comes through and just sort of wrecks it. But that's life, right? And then you gotta either keep on trying to stack them to build a higher, threshold, a higher standard for yourself, or you just kind of get fine with it. I know I'm not gonna repeat it because it's on an episode that I've recorded something with Sushi on, and when it comes out, it'll come out. I don't know when it'll come out. Duh. But it's just, yeah, it just, I don't know, just I don't know where I'm going with this. Just have goals, but have goals that don't just kind of have you just going in circles. Have like kind of keep climbing, and even when you have the down, just keep climbing, just keep swimming. But see, that doesn't really work because if you're just kind of swimming in circles, it's then go to what's his name, Camus with Sisyphus. Ah, he's the smart one. You know, him laughing, him being happy, enjoying his plight because he knows what he's doing. He's rolled that boulder up and it's rolled back down so many times. But for that one moment, that one singular moment, he has it over them all. He is a man. Now I just sound like a raving raving goofball. But I think with social media, you know, it's that the big spotlight is on the concern of this jealousy, and instead what I think is happening is there's this sort of echo effect of trying to be in two places at once, of being the one but also then being the observer of the self. And yeah, it's and much like with Narcissist, it's not a good way to go, and it does not have a good end. So yeah, that's what I got. This one came out a lot better than the other one. The other one I just kind of it was horrible. This one probably could have done better, but that's all right. Thanks for listening. We're going to get into the quote, but first a break. And first, news from our sponsor, or ads from our sponsor. I don't know. Anyways, take a break and we'll be back. Welcome back. That there was Tension. Good tune. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I've kind of noticed that I think I picked all of these to be from East too. I don't know why, but it is what it is. It's good music. Thank you, Yuzo Koshiro. Good stuff. Yeah, so I have two quotes. I'm gonna go double dip, and we're gonna go with some Goethe quotes. Yes. So, the first one that I want to throw out here is, where to go? Bum 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 bum, bum 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 bum. Well, I had two. Well, shoot. Where did that? I'll give the first one. I never find the other one that I had. First one here is: the human race is a monotonous affair. Most people spend the greatest part of their time working in order to live, and what little freedom remains so fills them with fear that they seek out any and every means to be rid of it. Yeah. I think it's that sort of the duality of wanting to do things, but then kind of receding into a comfortable sort of existence. And there's nothing wrong with that. So it's not really a spoiler of any sorts, but one of the characters in like the first book that I wrote is one of those people. It's very comfortable with what they want to do. Very simple person. And his sister really, really just, it's like, what are you doing, sis? Why are we doing this? I love that character so much. Oh boy, Wenzel. But it's just, some people have that's and it's not necessarily that's a fear, but that's just kind of what I was saying about the sandbox. Like, this is what they know of the world, this is what they know of life, and this is they are content with this. And that's that contentedness that, it can kind of be spun to be like, this is the, comfortably numb sort of thing. That's not me. Like, that's, but however, I noticed that can happen to anybody, really. Like, it happened to me. And so I don't know if it's necessarily that it is a strictly a quality of oneself as it is possibly the quality or a quality of one's surroundings coupled with one's attitudes. Yeah, it is. And so, instead of trying to go beyond, we hit a comfortable habit, and then because it's comforting, we feel like it works for us, but it doesn't necessarily work for our dreams. Like I mentioned before with the writing thing for myself, for initially it was a catharsis, because it's like I have all these ideas and stories in my head, and it's just like, get them out. But then at a certain point, particularly writing through this latest book, it's less that it's like, get them out, in that kind of way, just but more of, this is just something that I enjoy doing, and not because it's a cathartic thing, but it's because there is a joy for it for me to. Not saying that every waking moment that I do editing or writing is like, boy, by golly gee, this is really fun, I really like it, and no. But there's just a niceness to it, that I can't really quite put my finger on how to explain it, other than saying, like, there's a completeness to it that, instead of trying to seek out the catharsis or trying to seek out just a finish, it is more of just the joy of actually doing. That's about the only way I can think of of putting it. So, but yeah, I think this is also what ends up happening, is people slide into habits of just whatever, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. That's just not me. So, and that's something that I've always got to acknowledge and understand about myself versus other people, is that other people do prefer that. They prefer to kind of just hang out and whatnot. And like, I don't mind hanging out with people, but I also have these other things I do, or I have to want to do, I should say. Like I've mentioned it to, in trying to express myself better and not just be grumpy and be like, leave me alone. But like, I've tried to mention, it's like, when it comes to writing, I'm the only one that can write my stories. So like, it's stuff that I have to do, and nobody else is going to do it for me. So please understand. Thank you. So, and that's the thing as well, right? Is that, like, I'm, as oddly as I am into writing and everything like that, it is words. Words are just that. They're words, and it's all about the action. So if I say that but then don't end up doing that just it's not commiserate with what I'm saying. I'm just putting on a front, and that's not right, nor is that a good thing. So like, words help try to convey that, but then it's like the action kind of thing. So the other one, what was the other one that I have? I don't remember. Well, now I feel very, very silly, because I had a second one picked out. I don't remember. I feel silly. Ah, here, we'll go with this one. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Um, and that's the other thing. I so frequently now, um, and I don't mean just now as in the last couple months, or even really the last year or so, but just in general. I hear so many people say, "Oh, I need to get my life in order. I need to do this, or I want to do this," and this kind of just jumps back to the moment of, you know, like this is this comforting thing. This is this consoling, like, and this is us consoling ourselves to be like, oh, I am an understanding that some, like, I need to do something. I need to fix this, and then maybe doing something about it. But then if that fails, just kind of reverting back to, well, I know I need to do something, but obviously this isn't working. Sort of similar thing. You got to apply what you know. It's like, oh, why is my life in disarray? Like, why has it got me feeling this way? What do I need to do to go for this? And this is where, like, I'm, because I've decided to pick up so many things to do, like writing, keeping the channel going, doing streams, doing podcasts. I've made a weekly checklist for myself, and I think I'm going to stick with the weekly. Weekly seems to be working for me. Um, like daily, I could revert back to daily, but I almost feel like I can. Weekly's working for it. Maybe I'll go back to daily, but having this list of stuff compresses time because it is able to allow me to kind of get it out of my head of like all these things I gotta do. And so I can attack each one individually, be like, oh, I'm gonna get that done. Oh, I'm gonna get this done. And then what it does is it compresses time in the sense of I've got this stuff done instead of lackadaisically going about doing things and then going, oh shoot, I need to do this. And it's like, no, I got it done. We're good. Um, it's a bit of a paradox in that regard, right? Is like in having a whole list of things, it's to be able to it condenses it. It makes, by having a whole list of things, it actually makes more free time. At least it does for me. Maybe, and other people could be, really, your car has to be that loud. Gracious. Oh boy. Anyways, yeah, it just, for whatever reason, it works for me, and it's, and that's, I say that, but then it's like I also have to do it, right? You can't just make a list and just be like, oh, yes. That means that also kind of planning whatever you need to plan out. And sure, like, spontaneity is great, and I think that's part of the problem, is that we value spontaneity too much. It has become this sort of like, oh, because we're spontaneous, this is the high value thing in a person. And I think that's important and very, like, quintessential, essential, we'll go with essential. Very essential in, like, relationships with people, whether it's just, being a friend or, significant other of some sort. That is necessary, because that's kind of, what's life without something random, right? However, there's a difference between that and, like, having a goal to, like, focus on and dream to pursue. And sometimes you don't catch it, but maybe if in not catching it allows for a new branching path to go for and catch it there. And yeah, I think that's what I mean by that. Yeah, it's, you just, yeah. Because I don't know, because if for myself, like with writing and everything, like, you can't just have that spontaneous sort of thing. And, like, even with people who, like, are in bands and stuff, that they're practicing, they're doing the work. We just see the back end of it when they all the fun stuff. But it's like, hey, magic, you know. uh, so yeah, that's what I got. So enjoy your week, weekday, weekend, everything in between, all that sort of fun jazz. Hopefully it'll be a good one for you. It should be a pretty busy one for me, but not in a bad way. Keeping up with stuff. Hopefully I'll be another 40 plus pages into my editing. I might actually be a lot more. Let's try to get a lot more. Let's get into the 100 pages. Yeah. Whatever that was about. Yeah, so yeah, that's it, and all that sort of fun stuff. Definitely know where I went wrong, because it's good to know. I'll also be very curious to hear what people's thoughts are on this. I know half the time there's comments on it, other half the time it's I'm getting calls or emails or messages about the same thing. So you just however is easiest for you, just let me know. I'm very curious to know, because it was a very loose topic with some threads bouncing here and there, and just kind of boom, 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 boom. But yeah, that's it. The song playing out to is Dreaming. I just like it. That's why. I don't have any other reason for it. Yeah, I guess I'll see you next week. So take it easy. Bye.